Good morning and welcome to the Truth Network. And I thank you for tuning in today for today's message. And for a brief moment, I want to talk with you from the subject changing because of others. Changing because of others. And as all of us can attest to, we make changes daily. All sorts of changes that in many cases just happen because they are natural things that we do in our day-to-day existence in this earth. We change our clothes daily, sometimes many times in a day. We change our plans daily. We change them when the kids need to be at a particular place. We change them when work has all of a sudden caused there to be this urgent matter that we need to take and we need to resolve. We change our plans regarding our vacations. We change our plans regarding all sorts of things daily. Some the result of things happening externally, some the result of things happening internally. But the fact of the matter is that we change daily. As I said, we change our clothes, we change our plans. Women change their hairstyles regularly. Men change their hairstyles. We're constantly making changes. We change the houses that we live in. We go from this house to that house, from this apartment to that house, from this extended stay to this house, or to this apartment to this house. We're constantly making changes because life is about change. Throughout the entirety of our lives, we will forever be making changes, some drastic, some subtle. We change the cars that we drive. Oh, some of us have multiple cars in our garages and in our driveways. And depending upon the day, depending upon how we feel, depending upon where we're going, we change cars. We take one car when we're going on this vacation. We take a smaller car when it's just us and our spouses. We take larger cars when we've got to transport the kids with us. But we're constantly making changes. We change our direction when we're headed to work if there's traffic. You know, again, life teaches us that we are forever going to make changes as long as we're in this earth. We change our jobs. Hopefully not daily, but we change even in that our current capacity within our jobs. We change assignments, many of cases, daily, sometimes multiple times within a day. We'll change from this assignment to that assignment, to this assignment, to this priority, to this assignment, and we're forever changing. But most of those changes happen without a whole lot of pushback. There are changes that we can see within ourselves that need to be made, that are necessary to be made. We're constantly changing. We change our weight. Our weight fluctuates, and we'll change from pick up a pound here, lose a couple of pounds here, pick up a couple of pounds here, lose a couple of pounds here, but we are forever changing. And then we find ourselves having to make changes because of others. We find ourselves needing to change because of the actions of others. Again, as I've said, even in our jobs, a new supervisor comes in and necessitates a change in protocol, a change in the way that we perform our day-to-day tasks. But we're forever changing. We're forever changing. The company hires a new employee, and you've been tasked to train this person, but your day-to-day activities were with doing your own job, your own maintaining and fulfilling your own responsibilities. Now all of a sudden there's a new employee and you are being asked to change so that you bring this person up to speed. But we're always changing. We're always changing. We change when we have kids. Yes, we may have been, men and women that really enjoyed running the streets. We like to hang out in the clubs. We like to hang out with our boys. We like to hang out with the girls. But all of a sudden, having kids has necessitated a change in our activities, a change in our thinking, a change in our behavior, a change in our priorities. Yet, we welcome many of those changes. But these changes happen not because there's something internally going on. We're changing because others are almost mandating or necessitating a change within us. Yes, we change our behavior. We change things when we enter into relationships, romantic relationships. Well, we may have been used to doing things our way, but because we entered into this commitment with another, it necessitates change. It necessitates not necessarily feeling like things have to be your way all the time, but coming to a place where you realize that harmony is created when there's a meeting of the mind, so to speak, when there's a conscious effort to learn to give and to take, learn and to fight your battles. We are often changing, some because we've realized that change needs to be made, some that are necessitated because of others. We change our speed in our cars when we recognize that there's a police officer out there with a speed gun. Yes, this isn't a change that you would normally make without there being a cop out there that's prepared to write tickets. But because of another's action, it has necessitated a change within us. Yes, and I like to drive fast, but the moment that I spot police officer, and then I begin to change the speed in which I am driving. We change our perspectives when we're introduced to even greater wisdom. We run across a person that imparts wisdom into our lives, and we change our perspective many times in how we look at a particular situation. We learn things about our faith systems that we may have not previously known, and it causes a change in our perspective. Some of these changes, as I say, are subtle. Some are drastic. But because of the actions of others, sometimes because of internal conflict, we find ourselves in need and making changes. Some daily, some weekly, some annually. We change the places that we vacation. This year we're in Colorado Springs. Next year we're in the Bahamas. Next year we're in Spain. But we are forever changing because life demands change. Life causes change. And all these changes that I've mentioned typically happen just as a natural phenomenon of life. But how many of you know that there are even more changes and greater changes that we can make based upon the actions of others. Yet too often many of us miss this because our emotions keep us from taking the next step towards change. Now, if you're listening to me, I want you to repeat with me. I am willing to take the next step to change because of the actions of others. And I've asked you to do that because, again, some change requires taking an additional step. Some change requires us seeing others and deciding that based upon their actions, we are going to change. And because God is so infinitely wise in how he instructs us and how he guides us, he allows the actions of others to provoke change within us. So now let me explain what I am talking about so that it is crystal clear that there are some changes that are made just simply because we recognize that I've had these clothes on yesterday. I guess I need to wear something else tomorrow. That we're taking the family out today, so the sports car probably won't accommodate us, so it probably behooves us to take the larger car. There are some changes that's just happened just because in your natural state of thinking, you realize that there's change that needs to be made. Again, then we change because we find ourselves in particular situations that necessitates change. A new supervisor comes in with a new approach to doing the job that we've done for the last 5-10 years, and it necessitates a change. A new baby is added to the family unit, and it necessitates a change. There are many things that we are changing, but sometimes God requires us to take the next step so that we recognize the potential for change that is available to us. How many of you have had someone say to you that they would do something for you, that they would accommodate something for you, and then not do it? I'm guessing all of us can, at some point of our lives, point to a situation where somebody has said that they were going to do something for you and you depended upon what they said. You made plans around what they said they were going to do. You adjusted schedules based upon what they said that they were going to do. And then all of a sudden they didn't do it. And if you're like most of us, what you see in that situation is what the person didn't do. What you experience in that situation is disappointment. What you experience in that situation many times is anger, is frustration, is stress, is a victim mentality. They did this to me. All you had to say was you didn't want to do it. All you had to do was just tell me that you were not able to do it. But you told me that you would do it. I depended upon what you said, and it didn't come to pass. Again, I say it's natural to see what wasn't done. But then there's a level of growth, a degree of change that can happen, that God expects to happen out of that situation, out of your disappointment, out of your frustration, out of your anger. How many of you know that God uses these types of situations, and he expects us to use these situations to cause us to see the behavior of others, not to highlight their behavior, but for us to look internally within ourselves to see and to assess the times that we've done what was done to us unto another. Let me say that again so that it's crystal clear. God uses things that happen to us to show us not what they did, but what we do when we're interacting and dealing with others. Not to chastise us, but to initiate within us a commitment to change. If they never did it to you, then you wouldn't have the picture to recognize and internalize your doing it to another person. So now when you feel the frustration, when you feel the disappointment that has come upon you based upon what somebody else did, then you can internalize and realize the disappointment and the frustration that was caused by your actions when dealing with another person. God is so infinitely wise that he causes these situations to happen to teach us. To teach us. It's the same thing with having a person lie to you. All you can see in the situation is, oh, all you had to do was just tell me the truth. All you had to do was do, you really could have, you. But God says, step back and see yourself, not in this situation, because in this situation you feel like you are the victim. In this situation, you feel like you have been betrayed. In this situation, you feel like you have been wrong. But just step back, because he that is without sin can't learn from the fallings and the failures of others. If you would step back and look at your life, and let the light of truth come into your heart, you will see yourself, and it should provoke change within you, because you understand what it feels like to be lied to. You understand the predicament that it put you in because you was lied to. So then that should be able, that should be used to provoke change within you. Now you can see what it feels like. So now you have a perspective of what turmoil it causes to another. So that means that you're now able to use that situation based upon what somebody else did to not change them, but to change you. It's the same thing with cheating. All you can see when it has been perpetrated against you is that no good such and such could have. All she had to do was tell me that they were unsatisfied in the relationship. All they had to do was just say, hey, I want out. But we fail to see that though it may not be to the degree of infidelity, there's something that we can learn through their actions about ourselves and how we interact with others. Our degree of fidelity, not only to our romantic partners, but to our jobs, to our kids, to our friendships, to the other responsibilities that we've engaged ourselves into. There is something in the life of life itself that should be able to teach us things about ourselves that provokes change. I hope I'm helping somebody this morning. You see, they used to say, when you point your finger at another person, 3 of them are pointing back at you. So it becomes easy to see what others are doing. But it's not so easy if you aren't willing to take the next step to see in them yourself. And life is about self-reflection, so that you are able to take the steps needed to move from faith to faith, from place to place, from situation to situation, being elevated all the while. Jesus said it this way. He said, before you try to remove the speck out of your brother's eyes, why don't you remove the log out of your own eyes? See, it becomes easy to see what others have done to you, but it's difficult sometimes to see, not in that situation, but to use that situation of wrong against you to see where you've wronged another, and to see and to make the change to walk away from such behavior. Again, there are changes that we make just because they're a natural part of our days. There are changes that we make because things happen externally, not necessarily to us, but just happens. That necessitates a change. Then there's sometimes that God allows things to happen to us and people choose to do things to us, but it's all done as you've got to understand what was meant for evil has turned and is working for your good. It's always good to be able to see yourself. It's not always comfortable, but it's always good to be able to see yourself in any situation. Because when you're able to see yourself, then you don't have to deal with the fact that you didn't know. You didn't know. When it comes to the light, then you're able to correct that which is in you that needs correcting. Yes, we must use the opportunities and events in life to move us even farther over into the side of excellence. By always looking at ourselves when looking at others. Again, it's easy to judge the actions of others. It's easy to call the actions of others wrong. It's not so easy to see in their actions ourselves. And this is growth. This is growth. This is how we become better. I heard a motivational speaker or I can't remember exactly where I heard it at, but I'll tell you the story. There was a man trying to get some work done. And his son was constantly agitating him. Dad, can you, Dad, which was preventing him from getting the work that he needed to get done. So the man, in trying to distract the child and trying to just get a little time so that he could complete his work, found her old newspaper. And in the newspaper on one side was a picture of a world. And the dad decided that he would just tear up the pieces of paper, into a bunch of pieces and tell the child, okay, now just put this map of the world back together. Well, thinking that the son would take an exorbitant amount of time putting the pieces of the paper back together, because he recognized that the son probably wouldn't know where all the pieces fit. But unbeknownst to him, that on the other side of the paper was a picture of a man. So the son, in his youthful innocence, flipped the paper over. And what he did was put the man together. So the dad, perplexed at, well, how were you able to do this so quickly? And the son said, well, I just put the man back together. Which is to teach us that when the man is together, his world will be together. So then, instead of looking at others and trying to fix others, why don't we fix ourselves? Because when we fix ourselves and we are together, then our worlds are together. Our world, our internal world is together. Our external world becomes put back together. But that takes growth. That takes courage. It takes maturity to be able to see what was done to you and use that not in a retaliatory way of getting back at them, not as a victim, but to see it as an opportunity to see ourselves, an opportunity to stand in judgment of our own actions. Not necessarily in this situation, but in other situations, even in future situations, because there shall come a time when your learning shall be required to show itself. People in the world just aren't going to just, magically change because you discover something new about yourself. They're going to call you to display what you've learned. So it gives us an opportunity to reflect upon our own actions, to judge our own selves based upon the actions of others. And as I've said, life is change. We are constantly changing. We're forever going to be required to change. Change is a good thing. As I said, it's not always comfortable, but it's necessary to growth. And growth is life. And I want you to live life. I want you to experience all the things that God has placed in this earth that were meant for you to experience. He created you to experience good in this earth. He created you to have the things that you desire in this earth. He created you to have joy and unspeakable joy. He created you to have peace that surpasseth all understanding. He created you to possess the fat of the land. Didn't create you to be in want, but he also created you to grow from faith to faith, from understanding, from the first grade to the second grade, to the fifth grade, to the eighth grade, to the 12th grade, to your bachelor's, to your master's, to your PhD, to your degree in life. Yes, he created us to grow. And in all facets of life, there are things that happen every day, every minute, every second of the day that can be used to help us to learn not about others, but about ourselves. We have to become masters of ourselves. We have to know ourselves so infinitely well that we can begin to move ourselves into the places that we need to be, recognizing our weaknesses. But if you never recognize a weakness, you're never able to work on a weakness. I hope that I've been of some help to at least one person this day. You know, Jesus spoke to one apostle at a time, and he helped one at a time before he could help the world. See, there's a lesson in that. You just help one, then help another one, and help another one, and help another one, and soon you will have helped 11. Soon you will have 12. Soon they will be able to go out and help others. Soon those that they've helped will be able to help others. Whom they've helped will be able to go out and help others. But it starts with a single person. Let me help you. Help me. We're all interdependent upon one another. Help someone today that you didn't expect to help, that you didn't know that you would be called on to help. Because in their situation is an opportunity for you to learn something about yourself. And if a little help initiates learning about self, then it's all the more worth it. There's no greater education that we'll get in this earth than the education of understanding self. You're responsible for you. So if you're going to be responsible for you, shouldn't you know as much about you as humanly possible to know about you? That you may be able to move you, taking into consideration your strengths and your weaknesses into the place that you and God has created for you. Again, I love you. I thank you. I thank you for tuning in. I thank you. And I hope that something I've said inspires change in you. That together we begin to win this world for good against evil, that God will be done. I love you. He blesses you. And until next time, thank you for tuning in to the Truth Network. Goodbye.